Let's take a quick tour around the Pfaff Ambition 620 sewing machine. Now we'll get into all these areas in a little bit more detail, but kind of nice to know what you're in for with this machine. So number one, when you turn the machine on, it will immediately go to a straight stitch, stitch number one. So if you look up here, these are all your stitches. They're kind of grouped in categories. You'll see kind of the first group, it says utility, the quilting stitches, needle arts, satin stitches, decorative stitches, sewing techniques, and the alphabets. So as you pick any of those numbers from up above, so if you want stitch number 89, you pick the stitch and up comes the stitch on screen. This is actual size, so when you start stitching it, if that one's a big stitch, by the way. If you want to know what kind of foot you need to have on for this stitch, touch the I for information. So it will guide you whether we have a single needle or a twin needle in, what foot to use, stabilizer, whether the IDT is engaged or not, which right now it shows that it's not with the feed dogs only showing. Here, let's show you what it looks like when you just pick a straight stitch. So it has that little extra kind of foot on top of the feed dogs. This is the tension. We have stitch length and either width or needle position will show for every single stitch. So I'm just randomly picking stitch number 45, so the stitch width shows 7. As you move the plus or minus, it will change what it looks like up here and also show you what the settings are as you go. To get it back to normal settings, reselect that same stitch, 45, and everything will go back to normal. Now let's jump down here for a second. There are 4 different categories of areas here. Right now it's showing just like the foot and basic items. If you arrow to the right, we get into the sequencing area of the machine where we can combine stitches together and letters together. This will give us our different alphabets, including our lowercase and numbers. And then the last one is our settings, including the thread tension area, turning on twin needle options, setting the machine so it doesn't go zigzagging when you want to safely keep the needle in the center needle position, and also the language of the machine. An audible alarm when you are hearing me touch things that I'm no longer needing to touch. You can turn that off. Screen contrast and the version of this machine. And then we're back to the top here. So it's just some basic things that we will get into and we'll be using, such as that twin needle option and even how to change the tension area. So if we're changing our tension, we're going to use the arrows left or right to make it tighter or looser for that stitch. To get out of settings, go ahead and touch OK and then arrow down until you can go ahead and scroll to the side to get all the way back to the sewing information that you are looking for. Next, we have our needle down and up feature. So if that is lit, your machine will always stop in the down position or always in the up position. Our locking stitches, so I love that you can actually lock the stitches at the end of a sequence. Our scissor button or thread snips where it'll cut the thread and then you take and pull your fabric directly out. These we use for our memory as well as our trash can when we're deleting something out of memory. And then we also have mirror image in different directions. We also have a start-stop button, which you can push when the presser foot is down, yes, and it will sew without you holding on to your foot control. A reverse button when you're wanting to sew backwards and lock those stitches. So we have a lot to get into as we work through every corner of this fabulous machine.